Hi everyone. Today I'm going to continue on with my discussions of the films of 1972, month of October of 2022. I'm doing horror films, and today I want to talk about The Possession of Joel Delaney, which is currently available streaming on YouTube. I think it's the only place where this movie is streaming. It has no Region A physical release. There is a imprint release from Australia. Amazon is selling it for something like $35, but it says it's not region free. But if you go on eBay, you can get it for about $24, in which it says it's region free. And I believe it is region free. I wish I had gotten it. I'm spending way too much money on Blu-rays lately, but this is a film that really needs a commentary, and evidently there's a commentary in the imprint release. Now, the main question is this a scary movie? Is this a movie you want to watch in the Halloween month of October or not? And all I can say is, from my point of view, it scared the heck out of me. It stars Shirley MacLaine. She's playing a Park Avenue socialite, very wealthy. Her very much younger brother has returned from overseas, and he is living in a very poverty-stricken Puerto Rican neighborhood in Manhattan, and she really dotes on him. She's concerned about him, and it attracts attention. You know that it's a little bit unnatural the way she is so doting on her younger brother like this. And he seems to be going off the rails. He doesn't seem to be, he goes off the rails. In the first 5 minutes, he ends up in Bellevue. Something is amiss. He's not the same person as he used to be, Joel Delaney. And the intimations are that he has been possessed. No spoiler, it's in the title. And not only possessed, but possessed by a serial killer who had been a friend of his in this Puerto Rican neighborhood. So one of the most disturbing sequences in the film, it's full of shocks. It'll shock you for sure. But there's an exorcist scene where this group tries to exorcise the spirit out of Joel Delaney. He's not there. They have to use a bit of clothing, but it just seems so authentic. And one reason I wish I could have listened to a commentary is, who were these people? Are these actual people, a group that performs this right? Because it's so terrifyingly real. Shirley MacLaine is a witness and somewhat of a participant to it, and as the ceremony goes on, she becomes more and more terrified, and reflecting what we feel in the audience. And I have to talk about the end of the film, because this is a controversial film. This is a film in 1972. Anything goes in films of 1972. Censorship is basically kaput. Maybe not everything, but there is the sequence at the end. Many people, many critics found distasteful. It's one of those scenes, you know, that advertisement where these young people are being chased presumably by a mad killer in the woods at dark at night, and they say, well, what do we do? Let's escape in the running car over there. But instead they hide in the garage behind all this string of chainsaws. It's the same way here. If you're in danger, where are you going to go? Well, let's go to an isolated beach house on Long Island, off season. It emphasizes children in peril in a way you might very much feel uncomfortable. But I mean, the whole movie is really making you uncomfortable. This is not a comforting movie. And it plays not just on this possession, which could be possession, it could be insanity, but also on the horror of the family. This is a family horror film. This is a film that has, in which the characters have a past. As I said, in this doting, there's intimations of that this older sister, younger brother relationship has intimations of incest, of family secrets, of overbearing concern. Is the possession of Joe Delaney by an evil spirit, or is the Shirley MacLaine, the older sister, trying to possess her younger brother? And the performances here by the two main leads are just outstanding. Shirley MacLaine, this was a film that she originated. It's from a 1970 novel, and she felt deeply about whatever the movie ended up being, because the original producer quit at the beginning of the film over creative differences with Shirley MacLaine. Lou Grade and his company came from Britain to finance the film. The exteriors are filmed in New York City. The interiors were filmed in London. But Shirley MacLaine takes this gamble in the sense that she is not sympathetic. We have no one to root for here, and evidently that's the way she wanted to play this part. So what is she doing with her brother, her relationship with her Puerto Rican maid, where she's very officious to her, and so we see what she's going through, but of course we root for her to live throughout the film, but she is not somebody that we are drawn to sympathetically. She's rich, and she flaunts her riches. Perry King playing Joe Delaney, he said in later years, this is his favorite performance. Why not? He could utilize all his acting chops. He could be sweet and kind, and he could be evil. He's going to run the gamut, and he's terrifying towards the end of the film. And I mentioned the Puerto Rican maid, the exorcism by this group of Puerto Ricans who are trying to who understand and believe in the possession. So we get a picture of New York City in 1972, grimy, it's not working, the economic inequality of Park Avenue to the barrios in these poor neighborhoods, the whites versus the non-whites, the fear of the non-whites by the whites. It's very palpable. This is a very New York City 1972 kind of film. And we also get a very interesting kind of aspect to the film of evil, the nature of evil. Is insanity a form of evil, or does evil cause the insanity? And perhaps through the evil coming through traumatic incidents. Does it exist by itself, evil? Can it be transferred from person to person? We always have to protect ourselves. We have to protect ourselves from an evil ubiquity that surrounds us. Now, in 1972, this was the non-ending Vietnam War, the social unrest, just a culture that seemed to had run out of steam. It's going through a kind of nervous breakdown. And possession in itself is a theme that would be explored much more commercially successful in the following year with The Exorcist, where the possession is by the devil. And the devil had appeared in Rosemary's Baby. Psycho, we have a possession of Norman Bates by his dead mother, in a much more Freudian terms. So obviously there's Freudian aspects to the possession of Joel Delaney as well. So there's this idea of being possessed by evil, but also this is a film that as I think I've tried to outline here, is existing on other levels besides just the horror film. And that was, in other words, it's not a concept horror film. We don't go ding, 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 we got to have another horror scene, ding, 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 another horror scene. Where you're watching the film purely for the horror. In the final sequence, which I have already alluded to, where it involves nudity by one of the children. And of course, everybody today is shocked, but people were shocked by it in 1972 because that had never, I mean, I don't know, it probably has been done a little bit before that. Certainly Sweetback's Badass Song, Melvin Van Peebles uses his son in a nude scene, a sexual act scene. That was on the fringes. This is a Shirley MacLaine film. And yeah, usually I can't stand those kind of films, but for some reason I've got where children are in peril with great terror, and these two kids really look like they're terrorized in this film. And of course, the following year with Linda Blair, she was certainly terrorized in The Exorcist. So this is all orchestrated by a director named Waris Hussein. And he was Indian-born. He was trained or he was educated in Britain. Worked for the BBC. He made 5 movies in a row, 5 feature films in a row in like four years, including 2 films that I have seen. Quaxer Fortune has a cousin in the Bronx. I think it's called Gene Wilder, Margot Kidder, and also Thank You All Very Much with Sandy Dennis. Very offbeat. Films that I really like to really sound interesting. I saw them, but I don't remember too much about them. And then Hussein went back into TV and worked for the BBC, and he never made another feature film. So from 1969 to 1972, 5 feature films. I guess they weren't commercially successful, and he could find continuing employment in television. But again, I think maybe in total they were all TV shows, either in BBC or the other networks. So overall, this was another surprise. I mean, I'm really getting surprised by these horror films, and all the films in this late 60s, early 70s just look so. You never know what's going to happen in these films. And I haven't seen, after The Exorcist and this film, there's 10,000 more horror films that are made in the last 50 years, and I'm not a big horror film fan, so I have not seen all these movies, all these other horror films, so it might look pretty tame. But nevertheless, even from the aspect of just an interesting story about possession, I think it's worth a watch, and like I say, you can catch it on YouTube for free. It's a watchable print. It's not great, but it's certainly watchable. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I appreciate it. Take care.